not what your country can do for you.
It was all...
Ask what you can do for your country.
Knock the crap out of them, would you?
Their cause must be our cause, too.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters.
And we shall overcome.
As soon as we left, they knocked the out of everybody.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Build that wall. Build that wall.
Americans are generous and strong and decent not because we believe in ourselves.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
But because we hold beliefs beyond ourselves.
Grab him by the... The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted.
This is the crap we have to put up with?
It belongs to the brave.
I never want to be called loose.
I'm asking you to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours.
How about if I take his money, but in the end I screw him and don't do anything for him?
Come on back into the press box in Manchester, New Hampshire. That was 2020 candidate Michael Bloomberg's new ad released over the weekend calling on voters to help bring presidential back. And I think that was a good ad.
It's interesting, Adrian, I'm hearing from a lot of Democrats who aren't necessarily saying, I'm going to vote for Mike.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is, I kind of like this guy. I like his ads.
Who is he?
I like what he's doing. And I like that he's driving Donald Trump crazy, which is, we're about to show a poll that shows that he keeps going up, just like Trump. Oh, he'll never get above 5%. He'll never get above 10%. That's what Republicans said. Bloomberg keeps going up.
Yeah, he does. And this is the kind of ad that I wish we had seen from Joe Biden closing in New Hampshire, because it reminds voters that he was the front runner at one point, and he is still the most electable in his campaign's view and in many Americans' view to take on Trump. That has slipped a little bit, but this is the kind of closing ad I wish Joe Biden had done in New Hampshire, and not Bloomberg is great that he's doing it, but not the one that Biden that we just played earlier. Look, I'm hearing the same thing about Bloomberg all the time, and I think if Joe Biden finishes 4th or 5th in New Hampshire, which looks like it may be happening, more and more people are going to start turning to Mike Bloomberg. People are also very grateful, to the point you just made, Joe, that he is spending money on ads contrasting the Democrats with Trump, right? He's not getting into the weeds with the other Democratic nominees. He is focusing on Trump. And that is something that Democrats are very happy about, because we are at a financial disadvantage compared to how much Trump is raising.
Not anymore. Not with
anymore.
this
Not
guy.
with this.
This guy, again, Donald Trump can raise $1 billion, $2 billion. Mike Bloomberg, he sneezes and that falls out of his back pocket. It's a rounding error, and that actually may be the great equalizer in 2020.
In this race,
now let's talk, John,
but
about...
I'll just say one thing about this. In this state, the number of people in this state in Iowa who I've walked up to and said, who are you for in this race? And they say whoever they're for. And then I say, who do you think is going to be the Democratic nominee? And you hear like overwhelming numbers say, oh, Bloomberg. Even if it's not the person they're voting for. There's people are starting to get in their heads the notion that Bloomberg is kind of like, he's on television so much. Yeah. It's an interesting undercurrent that people, again, whether they're for him or not, and they're not for him, they haven't really figured out what they think about him, but they're starting to get this sense, which is, of course, what Mike's trying to do with all this advertising, is that it's kind of inevitable that Mike will eventually become the nominee, and partly because of the money, which people appreciate because they want to be able to beat Trump.
If Mike Bloomberg could have asked for a better start to the Democratic primary, he could not have imagined one where Iowa's chaos. They still don't know who the winner is. They're never going to know who actually won Iowa. Right. Never. And now you come to New Hampshire. And this is a big if. We don't know what's going to happen. By the way, I will say this. Joe Biden could win tomorrow. I remember in 2008, all of us, and I mean everybody, wrote Hillary Clinton's obituary in New Hampshire in 2008, and she shocked the world and won. So we don't know.
Could be Amy.
Joe could win tomorrow. Amy could win tomorrow. Maybe it's Bernie. Maybe it's Mayor. We never know. That said, if it continues going in this direction, Amy jumping up to, let's say, 3rd, Joe down 4th or 5th, Bernie winning. I mean, it doesn't.
And Pete having dropped back down somehow. Look, that helps Michael Bloomberg
immensely. And then having Joe Biden stumbling into South Carolina, that would be a dream scenario.
A world where Bernie Sanders comes out of this primary, again, if this were to occur, Bernie Sanders wins this primary convincingly, and there's sort of jumbled chaos among the moderates, is Mike's dream scenario.
Let's look at this poll real quick, Mika.
Well, we've got this morning consult poll where Bernie Sanders is at the top of the pack. This is for the 2020 Democratic nomination, a national poll. Joe Biden second. Bloomberg is third. Interesting.
At 15%.
Where did that come from? All these ads? We've got Pete Buttigieg in fourth and Elizabeth Warren in fifth. Go ahead.
Well, to that point, to Mike Bloomberg's 15%, what you pick up walking around anecdotally here are a couple of things that are glaringly obvious that pop right out in terms of conversation, and John alluded to one of them. The first thing you pick up is that Trump has gotten himself so far into the heads of Democrats and people who vote Democrat, it's overwhelming. Yeah. They are obsessed with him about getting him out of office. The second thing you pick up off of that obsession is which of these candidates on the ballot here in New Hampshire tomorrow could best stand on a stage with Donald Trump. And the indication you get from more and more people is just viscerally, just instinctively, they think Mike Bloomberg would drive him crazy. He's richer, he's tougher, he's actually accomplished a whole lot in his life. Yeah. And he would outspend him 10 to 1.
Ran the biggest city in America, the most powerful city, many would say in the world, most influential, 3 terms. But, you know, Willie, again, we don't know what's going to happen, but we do know this. Since Iowa, we've all got the phone calls. We've all talked to the voters. They are very concerned with the current field right now and are saying, I mean, how many panic calls? I can tell you, I get a lot of panic calls this week. Oh, yeah. And from people, it's funny, but a lot of panicked calls and emails and texts from people who've always said in the past, oh, you're a Republican. You know what? I don't want to hear from you. Yeah, I said, well, I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. They said, well, but still, you don't know what the Democrats need. I heard that for about 6 months. I'm not hearing that anymore. I got panic. Called, Joe, what do we do? What are we going to do? We're in desperate straits. What's going to happen? Are we going to win? You know, because there is such, and they're doing that to everybody. I mean, I'm sure they're calling you to everybody. There is just this fear that among the current crop of candidates, there's a fear that there may not be the ability to take down Donald Trump.
Yeah, you hear it. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.